name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another soap making video. Now today's soap has a lot of special meaning to me and I have been planning it for quite some time, been looking for the perfect molds and all that sort of thing. I already knew which fragrance I wanted to use though. Now on the 4th of July, while so many of you were actually celebrating Independence Day, my husband and I were actually celebrating our wedding anniversary, and I made this soap so I could actually give him a bar of it. Now I am a bit of a traditionalist at heart, and since we got married, every year I have given my husband a traditional wedding gift. So for example, I think it was our 5th wedding anniversary where the actual traditional gift is something made of wood. I got one of his favourite photos which he had rolled up in a poster tube, actually framed in a really nice wooden frame, and that is now hanging up in our house, and he got something actually carved in wood for me. So we've always been a little bit traditional like that. This year, however, it's going to be a little bit different. 10 years. Now the traditional gift for that is tin or aluminium. Come on, how many marriages these days actually last 10 years? So I thought we needed something a little bit more special than tin or aluminium. So I actually looked up what the modern day gift of a 10-year anniversary was, and to my delight, it is diamonds. Now my husband doesn't wear jewelry. The jewelry he does wear, I've actually already given him, so a wedding ring and a nice necklace which has a really nice sentiment on it. So I decided that for this soap we were going to use champagne, and I got in the brambleberry champagne which smells absolutely amazing, and I decided that we had to put some diamonds on the top of this soap. So come along with me as I show you how I make our 10-year anniversary champagne soap. Let's go. In my bucket I have my usual soaping oils that I like to work with, and you'll find my recipe down in the description box. In this jug I have a 1-for-1 sodium hydroxide and distilled water solution, and then in this jug I have my sparkling wine. Now when you are working with alcoholic beverages, you do need to take that alcohol out of that beverage just to make sure that you don't have any adverse reactions when you pour it and you are soaping with it. So to get rid of the alcohol, I have boiled this up on the stove top for about 10 to 15 minutes. Once it finished boiling, I popped it into the fridge to cool down, and then once it was cooled, I measured out how much I was actually left with. Today, because alcoholic beverages do have a lot of sugar in them, which accelerates trace, I decided to work at full water given by Soap Calc, which is 38%. So once I'd worked out how much water went into my 1-for-1 solution, I made sure I had enough sparkling wine left as well. Now, lucky for me, I had about 2 or 3 grams more sparkling wine than what I actually needed, but if I had have been short, I would have just topped that up with a bit more distilled water to get that full amount of liquid that I need for making this soap. So the first thing I am going to do, I'm going to put my brand new stick blender into my oils. I found these today while we were out looking for a toaster, and they were at rock bottom clearance, so I'm really pleased about that. What I'm going to do is first of all start by pouring my sparkling wine into my oils. I will bring that all together, and then I will pour my lye solution in and hopefully bring this up to a very light trace, maybe just past emulsion. Okay, so I have actually just brought that up to a light emulsion there. We'll get rid of those. I really like this stick blender because look how thick the ring of this is. So I think this is going to stand up to a lot more on and off of the actual main base than any of the other stick blenders I've used before. What I'm going to do is split this out for a few colours. In this one I have some resplendent mica from my Micro Obsession, which I have mixed with a bit of oil before pouring this in. Just makes it a bit quicker and easier to mix those colors. And in this one I have some of my favorite gold, which is Extravagance, and that's because it leaves a really nice glittery shine in the soap. I can feel that this is getting warm already, and that would be because of the the sugars in the alcohol. So we will work a bit quicker here now. Into my big bucket here, I am going to add some titanium dioxide, which I've dissolved in some water. I'm going to give these a bit of a blend, and then I'm going to pour in my champagne fragrance oil from Brambleberry, or I got it from Aussie Soap Supplies. And then we are going to do an in the pot swirl before pouring into our molds. So they are all nicely mixed in. Given how warm this bucket is getting and how concerned I was about this actually accelerating, this is behaving really, really well. And that fragrance oil, it is just so bright and bubbly and absolutely perfect as a champagne fragrance. And I can see it mixing really well with other fragrances as well. If you mixed it in with maybe a bit of peach or some raspberry, you could even mix it with some strawberry, any of the sweet smells. I think it would just be absolutely wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that bit in those pots just in case we've got a whole heap of white at the bottom of this bucket. I'm going to clean this bit of mess up, and then I'm going to start pouring into the mold. I'm going to start by pouring in about a third first of all. So pour about that much in. This is probably still quite fluid for what I'm hoping to do. So what I'm first of all going to do, just to help a bit, I'm going to give that a very quick spray with a bit of rubbing alcohol just to try and get that surface to set up a little bit. And I'm just going to finish pouring the rest of this soap batter in here, and I'll leave just a little bit behind to do the very tops. And what I've got for the inside of this soap, these are some of the embeds that we made in the behind the scenes video on Wednesday. And I'm just going to drop a few in. And then hopefully some of these will also start to float. So we've done some from quite high so that they do drop. Now I'm going to put a couple so that they kind of stay a little bit more towards the top of the soap. And the idea is I want this to look like my champagne soap has got bubbles all through the middle. So hopefully we'll get to see some of these when they get cut. I'm trying to drop a few of these where the actual cut lines are. And then as you work through the soap, you'll also get those other bits of bubbles appear. So that should do for now. I am now going to just gently pour some more on. I'm going to use my spatula so as not to really disturb the ones we've poured too much. So we'll get some more of that in, and then I'm just going to put some more bubbles, and then I'll pour a bit more of a layer, and then we'll come and do the top. Our mold is now nice and full and ready for the embeds. The first thing I'm going to put on our champagne soap, because we are celebrating, are some little champagne bottles. And I made these with some melt and pour, and they're covered in some gold leaf. And because this is a 10-year anniversary celebration, the modern gift for 10 years are diamonds. So we've got some wonderful sparkly diamonds to go on the top as well. And then any space that I've got left over, I still have some of these bubbles to go on the top, which should hopefully look like some of the bubbles have risen to the surface. So let's get putting these ones on. So I've got a couple here which I did try putting in before, but they sank. So what I'm going to do is just push them in. They are going to lean over to the side a little bit. I was hoping to put them on randomly, but I think the bottles are just a little bit too heavy and they were sinking. I am going to continue going this way, I think. So each of these soaps is going to get a champagne bottle, and they'll also get a large diamond and then a couple of the little diamonds as well. So I met my husband about 14 and a half years ago, and we've been married for 10 of those. I was living out in Ayers Rock and I'd had enough and I wanted to move, and I was offered a job up in Port Douglas. So off I trotted up to Port Douglas, and then a couple of people decided that they were going to play matchmakers and introduced me and my husband, and we became very good friends very quickly. And we did lots of things together. We would always travel down to Cairns and go and see movies and things like that. And for the first maybe 6 months, I saw us as just friends. Now, my mum wasn't blinded by that. She kind of knew straight away what was happening. I was just a little bit slow on the uptake there. When my mum first met my husband, she flew into Port Douglas just to come and visit me. She was living in Brisbane, and when we got home back to my apartment that I was living in the little town, we went to go and open up her suitcase, and she had forgotten the key to unlock the padlock. So my husband, he was working as concierge at the hotel up there, so being in concierge, I knew that he knew how to get into padlocks on suitcases. So I gave him a call to see if he had a pair of bolt cutters that he could help us get into Mum's suitcase, and he came round and he helped out. And then consequently the rest of her holiday, the three of us spent time going to do things together. The next time she came to Port Douglas to visit, she came up, and believe it or not, she came with a combination padlock, and we got back to my little apartment and the combination padlock was broken. So I had to call my husband, my now husband, again and say, can you please come and help my mum? She's locked herself out of her suitcase again. So he came along and he helped her get into it, and then again for the rest of her sort of holiday with us, we went and did things all together. And apparently the one night we'd gone out to do dinner at one of the places, and she turned around to him and said, so when are you going to marry her? And then that was it. At that point I was still actually considering us to be just good friends. I hadn't even considered him anything more than that, but we went, we went on a few more sort of outings together, and then the one day we went out on a sailing boat trip. When you live in parts of far north Queensland, you get to do like little local trips, and one of them was to go out on a sailing boat. So basically we could recommend it to guests that stay in the hotel. So we went off on this little trip, and it was at that point that I kind of realized that, hey, I really did like this guy, and things just kind of grew from there. We were together for about 4.5 years, and I thought, if he hasn't asked me to marry him by Christmas, I'm going to ask him. And then we went out on Valentine's Day for a breakfast before he went to work, and that is when he asked me to marry him. Now, I always wanted my auntie to be at my wedding whenever I got married, and we knew that she was coming over in this sort of June, July of that year. So that basically gave us 3 months to prepare for a wedding. So we actually planned our wedding in 3 months. If you are getting married, I highly recommend giving yourself a short time to plan your wedding, because you can't keep chopping and changing your mind. You only spend the money that you need to, and you end up with a very a much more personalized sort of wedding where you're not worried about all these things not coming together. And it was just a really, really good way of doing it. So we actually got married 3 months after he asked me, so I could have my auntie there as my matron of honor. And we had just an absolutely beautiful, wonderful day. And we have now been married for 10 years, and I am sure we have got many more years to come as well. Now I was actually going to do the top of this quite random, but I'm thinking because of the weight of some of these, and because I definitely wanted to get that big diamond and the little bottle, we are having to have these fairly structured, so each of them will have each of those pieces. But what I might do with what I've got left over is just start filling in some of these other gaps. So maybe we'll end up with maybe 3 small diamonds on these. I don't think I'm really going to have room to put the bubbles on here, but I think we're going to have enough bubbles in the middle that it won't really matter. So I'm going to finish getting these ones in here. Alright, so now just to finish that off, I have got some Blizzard mica in my little spray pump here, and I'm just going to give that a really good dusting of this mica. And then what I might also do to give it that little bit of extra shine is grab a little bit of this holographic glitter from Aussie Soap Supplies, and this is the same glitter that is in the diamond and the bubbles, and I'm just going to give it a very, very hopefully light sprinkle. And this is a biodegradable glitter, so this one is good for the environment, or not bad for the environment I should say. And that is looking beautiful and sparkly and shiny. So I will bring you down for a closer look of champagne. So here is champagne up close. I am absolutely loving those little bottles with their gold leaf on them as well. And those diamonds are so super cute and so sparkly as well. I'm going to leave it sit overnight, and then I'll come back and cut it tomorrow, and we'll see what swirls we've got on the inside. So I am back to cut the champagne soap, and I am so super happy with the top of this one. It is smelling nice and bubbly, clean and fresh as well. Some things I did notice with this soap, usually my soaps I can actually take the liner off them within sort of 18 hours, and then by 24 hours I generally have them cut and up onto the curing rack. What I have noticed with this soap, it actually took 2 days before I could peel the liner away, and then it was a total of 4 days before I could actually start handling this soap. And all I can think of is it's because of that sparkling wine that I added into this one. Now, I really didn't think when I was putting the embeds on the top of this one about whether or not I could get it through the multi-bar cutter, and I had a look and I definitely can't. I'll end up pushing some of these bottles out. So what I'm going to do is use my single bar cutter, and we're going to cut it open and see if those little melt and pour balls that we put in look like bubbles in this soap. So I'm going nice and slow so as not to break my wire because of all that melt and pour. We'll pull that apart, and that is the inside of champagne. I am absolutely loving that. You can see the sparkles of glitter in that melt and pour, and it just looks like there are bubbles coming up from the bottom. The swirl from that in the pot swirl is absolutely amazing, and I am really loving the top with the champagne bottle and those couple of diamonds on there as well. So that has been well worth the wait of waiting to actually cut this one open. Let me just grab my tissue here and we'll wipe that excess off so I don't drag any soap through. We'll get the next one cut open as well. Now some of these bigger diamonds may end up getting sliced on the top just a little bit, but for the most part each soap will have a big diamond, a little diamond, and the bottle of champagne. So here is the next one. I love using that extravagance mica. It leaves a real shine and glitter in that gold colour, which is just perfect for this soap. I am so super happy with this one. Really pleased with all the work that has gone into it, and I really do hope that my husband likes this one too. It's definitely not a really girly scent. It's not quite masculine, but it certainly wouldn't put any men off from actually having to use this bar, and he does like using my soap, so hopefully he likes this one. Let's have a look inside this one here. So there is another piece. That swirl on there is just so nice. And you can see as you start using the soap, you're going to find more and more of those little bubbly melt and pour stuck through the soap. I absolutely love how that has come up. That's another piece of melt and pour I can see there. I thought I had something stuck, but no, it's just another bit of melt and pour actually starting to peek through there. Let's get this next one cut as well. This one feels like it's got a fair bit of melt and pour in that cut. Oh, it doesn't have as much as I thought it would. It was just quite tough to go through that piece. Oh, it's really not got many bubbles at all. But hopefully there'll be a few more pieces hidden underneath that cold process soap there. So I am so super and happy that I invested in this champagne bottle mold from Wilton. If you watch my behind the scenes video, you would know that that is one of the most expensive molds that I have bought to date in terms of its size and what it can actually do. But I'm really glad that I have actually invested in it because I can see lots of other projects that I'm going to be able to do. I'm really happy with how this one has come together, and I'm looking forward to it actually finishing curing so that I can give a piece to my husband. So I hope you have enjoyed watching how I make my champagne soap. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. If you do have any questions, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And if you are new around here and you have enjoyed what you've seen, why not subscribe to the channel and maybe hit that little bell sign, and it will let you know the next time I bring you a video. So until the next time, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you then. Bye.